In a bustling city, where the sun barely peeked through the towering skyscrapers, lived a woman named Clara. She was in her late 30s, a marketing executive by day, and a single mother by night. Clara often found herself caught in a whirlwind of responsibilities, juggling work deadlines, her son's school activities, and household chores. Each day felt like a race, and by the time she collapsed into bed, she was exhausted, her mind spinning with the tasks yet to be accomplished. Somewhere along the way, she had lost the joy in her life, and the days blurred into one another like a monotonous routine. One particularly hectic evening, after a long day at work, Clara sat at the kitchen table, her head resting on her hands. The remnants of her son's dinner lay scattered around, and the faint sound of a cartoon played in the background. As she glanced at the clock, it struck her that time was slipping through her fingers like sand. She felt overwhelmed and, more importantly, unfulfilled. It was then that she decided enough was enough. She needed to take control of her time, not just for the sake of productivity, but to reclaim the joy that had long eluded her. Clara began her journey by reflecting on her priorities. She realized that much of her time was spent on activities that didn't bring her happiness or fulfillment. She made a list of everything she did in a week, from work-related tasks to her personal commitments. As she reviewed the list, she noticed a pattern. She devoted significant time to things that drained her energy. The endless meetings, the late-night work emails, and even the pressure to keep her home in perfect order were taking a toll. With a deep breath, she decided to categorize her tasks into 3 groups: essential, optional, and unnecessary. The essential tasks were those that aligned with her goals, like her job responsibilities and quality time with her son. The optional tasks included social obligations and some household chores that could be delegated or postponed. The unnecessary tasks were the ones that cluttered her schedule without adding value to her life. By eliminating or minimizing the unnecessary tasks, Clara felt an immediate sense of relief. It was as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Next, Clara embraced the power of planning. She invested in a planner, one that felt inviting and colorful, and began to map out her week every Sunday evening. She allocated specific time slots for work, family activities, and even personal time, something she had neglected for far too long. She made it a point to include small pockets of joy in her schedule, like reading a book, going for a walk, or simply enjoying a cup of tea in silence. This simple act of planning transformed her chaotic days into a structured rhythm, allowing her to manage her time more effectively. But Clara knew that planning alone wasn't enough. She needed to be disciplined in sticking to her schedule. To do this, she set boundaries. She communicated with her colleagues about her availability, making it clear that she wouldn't respond to work emails after a certain hour. This was a game changer. It allowed her to be present with her son during their evening routine, whether they were reading bedtime stories or playing games. The laughter they shared, the moments of connection, became the highlight of her day. As weeks turned into months, Clara also discovered the importance of saying no. She had always been the person who would agree to every invitation, whether it was a work function or a friend's gathering. But now, she learned to evaluate each request against her priorities. If it didn't serve her happiness or align with her goals, she politely declined. This newfound assertiveness not only freed up her time, but also made her feel empowered. She was no longer a passive participant in her life. She was the architect of her own joy. With her time now more manageable, Clara found herself rediscovering passions she had long set aside. She began to paint again, a hobby that brought her immense joy and peace. Each stroke of the brush was a form of therapy, a way to express herself and reconnect with her creativity. She also started volunteering at her son's school, which not only allowed her to contribute to her community, but also provided a sense of fulfillment that enriched her life. As Clara embraced these changes, she noticed a remarkable shift in her overall well-being. The stress that had once consumed her began to dissipate. She felt lighter, more vibrant, and most importantly, joyful. She learned to savor the small moments, whether it was a warm hug from her son, the beauty of a sunset, or the simple pleasure of a quiet morning with her coffee. Time, she realized, was not just a series of minutes and hours. It was a canvas upon which she could paint her life. Clara's journey didn't stop there. She understood that time management was a continuous process, one that required regular reflection and adjustment. She made it a habit to revisit her priorities and goals every few months, ensuring that her schedule remained aligned with what truly mattered to her. She also shared her experiences with friends and colleagues, encouraging them to take charge of their time and find joy in their lives. In the end, Clara's story was not just about managing time. It was about reclaiming her life. It was about recognizing that joy is not found in the absence of responsibilities, but in the way one chooses to navigate them. With each passing day, she learned to dance with time rather than wrestle with it. And in that dance, she discovered the beauty of a life lived intentionally, filled with moments that sparked joy and connection. Clara had transformed her chaotic existence into a symphony of happiness, and in doing so, she inspired others to do the same.